What is a language family?
A language family is a group of languages related through descent from a common ancestral language or parental language, called the proto-language of that family. The term family reflects the tree model of language origination in historical linguistics, which makes use of a metaphor comparing languages to people in a biological family tree, or in a subsequent modification, to species in a phylogenetic tree of evolutionary taxonomy. Linguists therefore describe the daughter languages within a language family as being genetically related.
According to Ethnologue, there are 7,151 living human languages distributed in 142 different language families. A living language is defined as one that is the first language of at least one person. The language families with the most speakers are the Indo-European family, with many widely spoken languages native to Europe, such as English and Spanish, and South Asia, such as Hindi, Urdu, and Bengali, and the Sino-Tibetan family, mainly due to the many speakers of Mandarin Chinese in China.
Lyle Campbell, 2019, identifies a total of 406 independent language families, including language isolates. There are also many dead languages which have no native speakers living, and extinct languages, which have no native speakers and no descendant languages. Finally, there are some languages that are insufficiently studied to be classified, and probably some which are not even known to exist outside their respective speech communities. Membership of languages in a language family is established by research in comparative linguistics. Sister languages are said to descend, genetically, from a common ancestor. Speakers of a language family belong to a common speech community. The divergence of a proto-language into daughter languages typically occurs through geographical separation, with the original speech community gradually evolving into distinct linguistic units. Individuals belonging to other speech communities may also adopt languages from a different language family through the language shift process. Genealogically related languages present shared retentions, that is, features of the proto-language, or reflexes of such features that cannot be explained by chance or borrowing, convergence. Membership in a branch or group within a language family is established by shared innovations, that is, common features of those languages that are not found in the common ancestor of the entire family. For example, Germanic languages are Germanic, in that they share vocabulary and grammatical features that are not believed to have been present in the Proto-Indo-European language. These features are believed to be innovations that took place in Proto-Germanic, a descendant of Proto-Indo-European that was the source of all Germanic languages. A language family is a set of languages deriving from a common ancestor or parent. Languages with a significant number of common features in phonology, morphology, and syntax are said to belong to the same language family. Subdivisions of a language family are called branches. English, along with most of the other major languages of Europe, belongs to the Indo-European language family. The number of language families worldwide. Keith Brown and Sarah Ogilvie, it is estimated that there are more than 250 established language families in the world, and over 6,800 distinct languages, many of which are threatened or endangered. The size of a language family. Zdenk Salzman, the number of languages that make up a language family varies greatly. The largest African family, Niger-Congo, is estimated to consist of about 1,000 languages and several times as many dialects. Yet there are many languages that do not appear to be related to any other. These single-member language families are referred to as language isolates. The Americas have been more linguistically diversified than other continents. The number of Native American language families in North America has been judged to be more than 70, including more than 30 isolates. Catalogue of language families. C. M. Millward and Mary Hayes. The website ethnologue.com catalogues the world's 6,909 known living languages. It lists the major language families and their members and tells where they are spoken. The number of speakers of these languages varies from the hundreds of millions whose native tongue is English, or Standard Chinese to the relatively small populations who speak some of the rapidly disappearing American Indian languages. Levels of classification. René Dervin and Marjolin Vespoor, in addition to the notion of language family, language classification now uses a more complex taxonomy. At the top we have the category of a phylum, i.e. a language group which is unrelated to any other group. The next lower level of classification is that of a language stock, a group of languages belonging to different language families which are distantly related to each other. Language family remains a central notion, emphasizing the internal links between the members of such a family. The Indo-European language family. James Claxon, Indo-European, i.e., is the best-studied language family in the world. For much of the past 200 years more scholars have worked on the comparative philology of i.e. than on all the other areas of linguistics put together. We know more about the history and relationships of the i.e. languages than about any other group of languages. For some branches of i.e. Greek, Sanskrit, and Indic, Latin and Romance, Germanic, Celtic we are fortunate to have records extending over 2 or more millennia, and excellent scholarly resources such as grammars, dictionaries and text editions that surpass those available for nearly all non-i.e. languages. The reconstruction of Proto-Indo-European, PIE, and the historical developments of the i.e. languages have consequently provided the framework for much research on other language families, and on historical linguistics in general. Language families. What is a language family? Most languages belong to language families. A language family is a group of related languages that developed from a common historic ancestor, referred to as proto-language. Proto means early in Greek. The ancestral language is usually not known directly, but it is possible to discover many of its features by applying the comparative method that can demonstrate the family status of many languages. Sometimes a proto-language can be identified with a historically known language. Thus, provincial dialects of Vulgar Latin are known to have given rise to the modern Romance languages, so the * Proto-Romance language is more or less identical to Latin. Similarly, Old Norse was the ancestor of Norwegian, Swedish, Danish and Icelandic. Sanskrit was the proto-language of many of the languages of the Indian subcontinent, such as Bengali, Hindi, Marathi, and Urdu. Further back in time, all these ancestral languages descended, in turn, from one common ancestor. We call this ancestor * Proto-Indo-European, PIE. Language families can be subdivided into smaller units called branches. For instance, the Indo-European family has several branches, among them, Germanic, Romance, and Slavic. How do linguists establish relationships among languages? Sometimes it is relatively easy to establish relationships among languages. Let us look at the Romance languages. We know that Italian is a descendant of Latin, a language that was spoken in Italy 2,000 years ago, and one which left a great number of written documents. The Roman conquest helped spread Latin throughout Europe, where it eventually developed into regional dialects. When the Roman Empire broke up, these regional dialects evolved into the modern Romance languages that we know today: French, Italian, Portuguese, Spanish, and others. These languages form the Romance branch of the Indo-European language family. By looking at the word for water in 3 Romance languages, one can easily see the similarities among them. Italian, aqua. Spanish, agua. Directly, but it is Portuguese, agua. Directly, but it is What if the ancestral language left no records? The case with Romance languages is unusually easy because their common ancestor, Latin, left many written documents. In most cases, however, the ancestral language was not written. As a result, linguists look at similarities among its modern descendants to establish common origins. Take a look at these examples. English, water, German, Wasser, Danish, Vand, Russian, Voda, Polish, Woda, Czech, Voda. It is clear that the word for water looks very similar within each group, but not quite as similar across groups. Languages in the first group belong to the Germanic branch of the Indo-European language family. Languages in the second group belong to the Slavic branch. Although there are no written records of the ancestral *Proto-Germanic or *Proto-Slavic languages, we have to assume that these two ancestral languages must have existed at some time, just like Latin did. Where do these mystery languages belong? Here is the word for water in two more languages. Do you think these languages belong to any of the branches above? Latvian, Udens, Albanian, Huge, Basque, Yor. As it turns out, Latvian belongs to the Baltic branch of the Indo-European language family. Albanian has no close relatives and does not belong to any of the branches of the Indo-European language family, and Basque does not belong to any language family at all. In fact, it is a language isolate, i.e., a language that cannot be reliably assigned to any established language family. Read Exploratorium magazine lecture on the evolution of language. What if there are no records, and we know little about the languages? In many parts of the world, there are no written records, and we don't know enough about the languages themselves. Consequently, we have to resort to grouping languages on the basis of geography. This is the case with many of the Aboriginal languages of Australia, the native Indian languages of the Americas, the tribal languages of Africa, and countless other languages all over the world. How many language families are there? According to Ethnologue, 16th edition, there are 147 language families in the world. This figure may not be precise because of our limited knowledge about many of the languages spoken in the most linguistically diverse areas of the world, such as Africa. The actual number of families, once these languages are studied and relationships among them are established, will undoubtedly keep changing. World's largest language families. The largest language families, those with over 25 languages, are listed below, Ethnologue. There are 6,523 languages in this group, and together they account for close to 95% of all world languages, assuming that there are some 6,900 languages in the world.